Islamic revolution is spreading through the Middle East at this very moment. Islam's ultimate goal is to rule the world. Will Islam succeed in ruling the world? Will the Antichrist be a Muslim? These questions will be answered today on Politics and Religion.
Look, there are two things I don't discuss: politics and religion.
In my house, we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion.
I'll talk to you about anything except politics and religion.
I never talk about politics and religion.
Politics determines how we'll live here on earth. Religion determines how we'll live forever. I'm Irvin Baxter. I think it's time we talk about it. We had an interesting guest on our program yesterday, Mr. Walid Shoebat. He was a former Palestinian terrorist, today a committed Christian and also a friend of Israel. Quite a transition that he has made in his life. He has written a book, the name of the book, God's War on Terror, Islam, Prophecy, and the Bible. Now, we had some interesting discussions with Walid yesterday, and I am fully persuaded that he is sincere in what he is propagating. However, there were some statements made on the program yesterday that I thought perhaps it would be good for us to discuss today, because Walid is convinced that the Antichrist will be a Muslim. However, I do not believe that that is correct, and so I didn't say anything yesterday because I wanted to respect our guest that we invited to be on the program, but I thought it might be advantageous for us today to take a look at some of those questions to see what the Bible does or does not say. Now, we know for certain that there will be several Islamic powers come down against Israel at the time of the Battle of Armageddon. Ezekiel chapter number 38 names them. Gog, Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, goes on to talk about Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, Turkey. All of these will be powers that will come down, but they will come down under a world government flag. Okay, now let's establish things one at a time, because it's awful easy when we get into Bible prophecy to throw out a lot of facts without really nailing things down solid, and that's when we start getting in trouble concerning what we believe. So, point number one, what Walid said yesterday about the Islamic factions that will be coming down against Israel at Armageddon. Now, that is true. Those nations right now are predominantly Islamic nations, but they were enemies of Israel before they ever became Islamic. Now, in addition to that, let's understand what else we're able to know about these things. In Zechariah chapter 14, verse number 2, the Lord said, I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. So this is not going to be 5 or 6 or 8 nations. It is going to be the world community. It will be the United Nations, or whatever entity represents the world community. It looks like it will be the United Nations. We're so close to the end now. I seriously doubt we can tear it all down and start over. So it will be a world government entity. And the world government will pass a resolution against Israel. Israel will feel she cannot obey, and therefore she will not obey. That's when the world community will decide to send coalition forces against Israel, very much like what they're doing against Mr. Gaddafi right now. They're sending the coalition forces against Gaddafi because he has not obeyed them. Well, that's what's going to happen with Israel. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now, the big question on the table today, however, is, will the world government of the end time be Islamic? When we read about the one world government, when we read about the Antichrist, are we talking about an Islamic world government? We know that Islam fully intends to rule the entire world. And we also know that they are expecting an Islamic Messiah. They call him the Mahdi to come soon. So they expect to have a world governmental system with this reestablished caliphate to come and to oversee the world and to rule the world. Okay, but the big question is that what's coming? Now, the reason I want to talk about this today is because, you know, it's really dangerous if you're in the ring fighting. If you're looking for a right, straight punch to the jaw, and all of a sudden here comes a left hook just when you have your guard down, you may end up on the canvas for a while. Well, it would be awful easy for us to be looking for one thing and yet something else come, and we might end up actually supporting the thing we should be fighting. So if we think Islam is to rule the world and it's not true, then we may align ourselves with the powers opposing Islam. Now, both of the powers are wrong. Both of the powers are evil, actually. There are actually two powers right now vying for control of the world. And one of them is going to win. And one of them is going to provide the world with its Antichrist and its false prophet. And yet the other one, which apparently will be defeated, is not good either. So it's whichever wins doesn't make any difference. It's all going to turn out bad until Jesus Christ comes to save us. And we are going to be taking your calls on the program today because we're going to be dealing with some pretty controversial things. And I want to make sure you're able to interrupt here and ask questions because we want to get this right. The number to call if you'd like to be on the air with us today, 877-END-TIME. Okay, let's see if we can start at the beginning. There is a picture of what world government will look like in the end time. That picture is located in Revelation 13, verse 1 through 3. Now, I do want to take time to read this passage of Scripture. Starting with verse 1 of chapter 13 of Revelation. John speaking, he said, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." Okay, now number one, a beast in Bible prophecy always symbolizes a nation along with the ruler of that nation. If you want absolute proof about that, you can go to Daniel chapter number 7, verse 23. There's a beast there, and it says the 4th beast symbolizes the 4th kingdom. So beast in Bible prophecy consistently always symbolize nations or kingdom. So this is a prophecy of a beast that rises up out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. And also it says, upon his heads the name of blasphemy. It goes on to verse number 2. "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority." Okay, so what is this about? Now, Mr. Walid Shoebat yesterday quoted this passage, and he said that the lion is Babylon, the bear is Media Persia, the leopard is Greece, and the 10-horn kingdom is Rome. And in saying that, he was attempting to somehow show that the history of these past empires would bleed into Islamic control. Now, this is a picture of the end-time world government. To show you that, verse 5 says, "And power was given unto this beast to continue 42 months, the final 42 months prior to Armageddon." Now, I was not able to follow Walid yesterday, and I want to remind you that I truly believe this man is sincere. I believe he's sincerely wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't think that you should be fixated on the Islamic Antichrist and on a Muslim one world government. Now, it's a possibility today, but it's not going to happen. Something else is going to happen. So we see this combo beast, body of the leopard, feet of the bear, mouth of the lion, 10 horns of the 10-horn kingdom. Big question. So is the feet of the bear, does that symbolize Russia? Or does that symbolize, as Walid said, Media Persia? The mouth of the lion, is that truly Babylon? Now, we can answer this question biblically without wild-eyed theories if you'll go one chapter further. This is chapter 7 I've read out of right now. Go to chapter 8, and there you'll see a ram fighting with a he-goat. And it says in chapter 8, I think it's verse 20, 21, it says the ram is Media-Persia and the he-goat is Greece. Now, I was fully expecting Walid to say that the ram was the bear was Media-Persia and the he-goat was Greece. I fully expected him to say that because that's what all the commentaries say. So I assumed that's what he would believe. However, I believed that until many years ago when I saw chapter 8 and I saw the ram, and it says there, you don't have to guess. The Bible says the ram is Media-Persia, the he-goat is Greece. I said, oh, so the commentaries are wrong because they contradict the Bible. So I went back to look one more time at Daniel chapter number 7, and I noticed that all of the beasts that symbolize the nations, all the nations symbolized by the beast, have to be on the earth at the time of the second coming. Now, how do I know that? Because the Antichrist is destroyed in verse number 11. Daniel said, I beheld till the beast was slain, his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. Well, that's what happens to the Antichrist. It goes on in Revelation 19, verse number 20. It says the Antichrist, or the beast and the false prophet, will be cast into the lake of fire. So, at the second coming of Jesus Christ, the Antichrist is destroyed, his body is given to the burning flame. Verse 12 says, as concerning the rest of the beasts. Now, what are beasts? They're nations or kingdoms. So all of the nations on the earth at the time of the Antichrist, as concerning the rest of the beast, when the Antichrist is destroyed, they have their dominion taken away, but their lives are prolonged for a season at a time. They'll have their power taken away, they'll have their self-rulership taken away, but they will be allowed to live into the millennium under the rulership of Jesus Christ and his church. Now, if this is true, and it is true, then this means that the beasts, the nations of Daniel 7, have to be contemporary nations with the Antichrist and will be on the earth at the time of the second coming of Jesus Christ. Remember, they have their dominion taken away, verse 12, but their lives are prolonged into the millennium under the rulership of Jesus Christ and his church. Now, if this is true, they cannot be the old nations of Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Those are all bygone empires. So they have to be modern nations. Well, there just happens to be a modern nation, a prominent nation, whose official animal symbol is the lion. Open up your dictionary to lion. If it's a good dictionary, it'll say the symbol of a country, Great Britain. Well, the second beast was a bear. There happens to be a major nation on the earth today whose recognized emblem is the bear. It shows up many times on the front cover of Time magazine, the front cover of The Economist magazine. It's used all the time to symbolize Russia, the Russian bear. You've probably heard of it before. Actually, the president of Russia right now, Mr. Medvedev, the word Medvedev means bear. So that's another interesting sideline. Okay, so God is saying that Great Britain is the lion, that the bear is Russia, and the lion had eagle's wings. There's a major nation today who symbols the eagle. It's the United States of America, depicted as growing out of Great Britain. That's where we came from. So God's telling us some things. We'll be right back.
Endtime Ministries presents End of the Age, a 30-minute commercial-free TV show hosted by Irvin Baxter. Every Monday, End of the Age airs on the Church Channel at 9 p.m., Daystar at 10 p.m., and on TBN every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., all Central Standard Time. On End of the Age, Irvin depicts how modern issues like an establishment of a one-world government, the religion of Islam, a coming World War III, and more line up so clearly with Bible prophecies written over 2,000 years ago. To get tomorrow's news today, be sure to tune into End of the Age every Monday on the Church Channel at 9 p.m., Daystar at 10 p.m., and on TBN every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., all Central Standard Time. Visit endtime.com for more details or call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463.
The Bible